Well, good morning, my time
Good evening.
here down under. And
My time.
yeah, and it's tea time for you and coffee time for me. And um, it's been so long that we've tuned in. And I just want to say I am delighted to have technology to be able to connect in this way. Um, and I'm using mobile data. So I hope this stays connected nicely and throughout our conversation. Um, Let's, would you introduce our beautiful gene key pulse that we're going to be discussing?
Yeah, we just jumped into the pulse of the week this week, and we're dancing in Gene Key 42. And this is written by Richard Rudd. And we're going to be talking a little bit, I don't know, maybe dancing in the different states of consciousness. But what this key is about the letting go of living and dying.
Mm.
And it's hitting home for me because I've recently had some deaths in the family, and this is the anniversary time-ish of my mom. um it's a little bit after, but Easter time, whenever kind of that comes around, that uh is part of it. And the shadow of this key is expectation, and out of expectation jumps detachment. And when we can get to the citic state, that's a celebration, yay, because we can see through the mirage, yay. So, it gets to that, but we sometimes get so mired as humans in that expectation. And I know it
Yeah.
because I know the programming partner really well, which is 32, and it's all about expectation and failure. And they dance
Okay.
together.
Yeah, the boy do those dance well. I don't have either one of them, but I am very close to them in other people's lives with me. So interestingly, I got to see, I'm here in Australia and we're visiting with one of my daughters, and the other daughter and her husband flew over. So the first time I got to see Kirsten and Sam together, we went into the city and did the art museum and, took the ferry and all that. And it was a lovely day. And we were walking through the historic area downtown called the Rocks. And I was asking Sam, and happened to be on Nurse's Walk, and he's a nurse, so that was very serendipitous to find this little alleyway. And I said, "So, what do you want to do while you're here?" Because he's got like not quite 3 weeks to be here, and we've all been here many times, and he had been here one time, but he was like, I had so many expectations last time, and I had all these things I wanted to do and see. And you know what? I've decided this time, no expectations, because sometimes you get disappointed. And I thought, what a wise young man you are. But anyway, it was because I used to plan. Oh my gosh, I was such a planner. And then when something would fall apart, which meant that everything else after that would fall apart, I I it took me the longest time to pivot or to whatever, adjust, go with it. And then even after I did adapt, there would still be some like grumbling, like I held a grudge about that didn't work. I am so proud that I am moved beyond that. And I think that a lot of our younger people are good at that too. And recently, I know you went to a memorial service for someone. I'm just curious, like, how were the young people with that? Were they understanding that life moves on beyond that? Because I feel like that's part of this message, this
Yeah.
being in the
I
codon ring of life and death.
yeah, and what's really amazing, and again, I think it's the culture of the people that I was around, but I would say by and large, the people that was in circle with in this church, when they would get up and speak, because each person, each family member spoke, which was amazing.
Wow.
And that was such a true testament to his character, and so beautiful, and so much love. You could feel it in the sanctuary. And um, I believe everyone understands that there's life beyond this, but we're still are grieving, the humanness of it,
Right.
right? The humanness of not being able to hold your loved one or to have them hit landmarks while you're moving along on your trajectory.
Yeah.
And I know that I still have dealt with some of that grief, even just from leaving where I used to live and knowing, oh, I'm not ever going to be around those people like on a consistent basis anymore. Like that kind of
Mhm.
saddens me. And so, but I
That's why you
know,
have to talk to me all the time on the
right.
on
So,
Zoom.
so I think that there's this letting go, like each time we get a chance to let go more of holding on to something or someone or some place, it opens us up for so much more. And realizing that, that's where the celebration, once we can detach from we think that it should look like or what our expectations are, there's so much room for it to even get better, like better than
Yeah.
we could ever dream up. So I just, I encourage, including myself, in my body to say, okay, it is safe to let go, because holding on for long periods of time is exhausting. It's
Yeah, it
constricting.
is.
And so, can we just be at peace with what is and mourn and be okay? Like, it's okay to be sad. And
Yeah.
we'll go through waves of, oh man. And then there's celebration because you're like, oh my God, I got to experience that. Oh my God, I love so much that it hurts so much. Isn't that freaking
Yes.
amazing?
And that's the beautiful part of it is having that person in your life. You have memories that will never die. So they're still always going to be carried in your heart. It's just so what the biggest thing for me is, yeah, I feel sometimes that grief it's kind of like when you're sick, and then as that wave passes you're like, oh, thank you, because it feels like it expanded or it opened my heart to a different place, and there's something so gorgeous about that. So I'm not saying, because I know that right now I think that's what a lot of people are feeling with all the changes going on in our world, is
Yeah,
we're grieving what has been.
right.
And, I used to get so annoyed when people would say after COVID, they're like, so I just want to get back to normal. And I'm like, and what is that
That. I
exactly?
know. I know.
Um, so it's like, this is our new normal, and it's going to continue changing, and it's going to
Right.
change faster and faster. So there is something to me. I also want to add or expand on the celebration thing, because celebration is just the relaxing into our natural state of being, which is blissful and peaceful
Yes.
and serene. But it doesn't mean that we're dancing on tables like crazy happy. It just means, oh, there's more. Look at all of these expressions of me. And yeah, I'm
Yeah.
here in the middle of it.
Yeah.
So
Celebrating your multi-dimensional beingness. Yeah.
absolutely. So, one of the things that really struck me, and I listened to the transmission on the 64 Ways by Richard Rudd, where he does an audio on each of these, because I don't have my book with me, Gene Keys. And what struck me was on the detaching, and he talks about detaching from our gender, like that definition. And it doesn't mean that we let go of however we identify ourselves, but that really doesn't matter. How do we pull from, and this is what I loved. He said, women, unfortunately, have forgotten the softness, the allowing, the being with everything as it is. That's what this key is teaching us to remember to get back to. And because we had to fight to get to be recognized, to get to have our place in society and culture and make our own money and all of that. It's still amazing to me that 50 years ago, women couldn't have their own credit card. It had to be under their husbands.
Right.
That changed in the 70s. Anyway, so that courage, he said, what we do is we marry that courage. And I don't want to say warrior because that feels way too strong, but courage and the softness, the loving, the allowing to be both within us. And I think that's kind of part of the beauty of gender fluidity anyway. So anyway, I think that was probably the biggest thing, because can we marry? Can we, like you were saying earlier, can we marry the sadness and the grief with celebration?
Well, and I feel called to read this paragraph on the repressive nature, which is about grasping. I know that we do this, especially when we're not sure of what's going to happen next. So when expectation manifests through a repressive nature, it becomes the inability to let go, a continually grasping at life. And these people simply don't want things to end and do anything to keep everything the way it is. This is a deeply rooted fear of change. And obviously, everything in life does come to an end in order that something new can be born. So there are many ways in which people can resist change. So there's through trying to remain young. There's through not allowing our loved ones to go on their own way. And there's through clinging in some way to the past. So however this clinging actually makes these people gradually wither away. When we do not embrace change and allow things to die and decay naturally, we prevent life from renewing itself, thus sapping our own health and healthy energy and vigor. And I realized when I read that there's still some part of me that wanted things to be still connected in the way that I always would show up for myself. And it's like, yeah, Suzanne, you have done that. That is part of you. You've integrated that. But this way of showing up is going to continue to expand. So
yeah,
you can let go of the way it looks, of the way it looks, and just allow yourself to transform into whatever you're feeling called to now in this moment.
In that moment.
Which
can change moment to moment.
Exactly.
And this is where for me, it's like a dance, right? Oh, the music's changed. Oh, okay. Well, so where am I now? You know, it's like, and this week has had so many, I mean, there's a lot of emotional stuff. We're healing as a family. We are moving. In fact, tomorrow night, I'm going over to my kid's dad's house to make a meal and, share some time together. And I'm so looking forward to that, because we have had a rough time every time we've been in Australia together. So there's huge celebrations going on, and I'm not going to say yet because I should know more maybe tomorrow. But I am, and at the same time, there's endings. So many things ending. So this weekend is this big full moon, right? And I haven't really studied about like what's going on, but energetically, it feels like a lot of emotion is moving through, and there's a lot of things that are spotlighted, and I'm just appreciative of being able to be here and share it. I'm not here by myself, even though I am in my own flat, which was lovely. Thank you very much. But it means, so I have space to process. Those guys are all hanging out in the same house together. So I said, I got space if you guys want to come here and spend the night. So that may happen. So where I'm at with you is I wanted to just ask you, so how can we support people in that shift, which I feel like is kind of a, for various reasons, it's going to take most of us this back and forth toggle of, oh, I'm detached. No, so until we get to a place where we're spending more time in the, oh, look at that. Yeah, that's disappointing. And, you know, being able
Right.
to let things move beyond us and or around us, or, and I'm just curious, do you have any thoughts or tips? Because this is the other thing I was telling Miranda the other night, my daughter, is I said, honey, your mind and your heart have already been working into this, like she's going through some changes. They're way ahead. You have to trust your body because it's going to take longer to process and digest and allow this um, emotional stuff to move through. I said, so don't be thinking that just because you're ready to move on up here or here, that the rest of you is on board yet. Give
Well,
yourself
and yes, and I think that that's what it is. It's really huge compassion, right? So when you have it bubble up, instead of shaming it, going, oh, that's what's happening. Like, me having a realization, 3 years has passed, since,
since you've moved there, really?
yeah. And so I was
That
like,
doesn't even seem
I know.
possible.
So it's really interesting because I feel like time has condensed in that something that would happen with us would maybe take a week to process. We're
Yeah.
going through it in a day. Like it's
Yeah.
just, so I think that the more for me, the more I'm slowing down my pace, my breath, how
My
I
speech. Hmm.
my speech, how I'm looking at things, how I'm like scheduling my day. I am slowing my pace to my rhythm. And I
Yeah.
just want to talk about that because we all have our own rhythms, and please honor yourself. Just because
Yes.
my rhythm is this, it may not be yours, and vice versa. It may not be Deborah's, but honor your rhythm, whatever that
It,
means to you,
yeah.
and give yourself that grace to, if it takes longer, so be it. And if it transmutes itself very quickly, same.
Yeah.
So there's no higher or lower. We all have our own stuff that we're working out, and just know that you're not
And be
alone.
good. Be good to your body. Right now, my body is asking for ginger every day. So I
I
have
know.
sliced ginger with hot water and lemon in the morning, and I eat a piece of ginger before I go to bed. And if
That
I
was mine
don't,
too. I did that.
I'm having like indigestion or something. So I'm like, okay. So it is, and lots of electrolytes. And it's not even that hot here. This is their autumn.
Mm.
And so it is, but it's 70, like 75, 80. But it's dry during the day. There's not much humidity right now. And I'm just laughing because, I mean, I love, so many of these houses do not have any air conditioning or heat. Like, really? So, because it's so temperate, and so, um, I love having the windows open all the time and hearing the birds. And in the morning, sometimes I have to put a sweatshirt on, but by the afternoon, I'm down to tank tops and ready to go for a swim. I mean, it's so weird. So what I'm looking though is how do I'm as much water as I'm drinking. Okay, more electrolytes. Okay, okay. Go to bed at 8 o'clock. Okay, and it gets dark here. That's the other thing, is it's where the days are getting shorter, and after that, I
Oh,
know they're getting longer for you.
yeah.
So I was having a conversation with a woman I met on the plane, and we actually met again for a drink in Sydney. And she's my daughter's age, and we got into energy stuff. And she was saying, and I said something about digestion and how that's my whole system feels like it's shifting to allow me to digest life. She goes, yeah, because it's not just food that we're digesting. think of all the consuming we do of media, the energy. And I said, yeah, and the energy of the people around us. And we're constantly allowing that to move through our system energetically, emotionally, physically, and just being really self-compassionate and allowing ourselves, I'm just going to say it again, the grace and the space to be with what is.
Yeah.
And anyway, that was my soapbox on that.
Soapbox. And we can celebrate life.
Mudra.
Yeah. What is a mudra?
So this is awesome. You take your ring finger and you put it pretty tightly into your palm, because normally I don't want to go down that far, but you kind of like feel it in there. Ooh. And then wrap your thumb around it so it's tight.
Yeah.
And what this does is it's the Agni in the Indian, probably people who study, Indian Ayurveda and all that will know that, but it's about generating heat. Oh. So what this does is it generates a soft heat that goes through our system and brings us the reminder that it's constant, like there's a flow, right? I can feel the energy moving. And I love this because I'm already feeling my belly.
And this is interesting because this key is in.
What is the physiology?
I think it's a sacral. Hold on. Let me just double check. Yeah, sacral plexus. Well, life and death,
So what is that? And how fire can cleanse and burn away and bring new. And so anyway, I'm just loving that because it feels, and we typically light candles at celebrations, so I mean, it's just I love it. So I'm going to be playing with this weekend.
And since we're probably not going to get back together for a full moon ceremony, I've got just some questions.
Oh, excellent. Like reflection things or journaling prompts?
Yep. Because it's happening on April 12th. It's known as the pink moon because springtime here in this hemisphere, things are starting to bloom springtime. So really, this is about, what are you ready to set down gently with love?
Set down gently with love.
So just reflect on that. What are you ready to set down gently with love? What part of you is beginning to bloom? Even if it's still a bud, just acknowledge where you are. And we just talked about this, how can you honor yourself with simple care practices to nurture the bud?
Love that. Let's post those underneath the video. So if people want to refer back, those questions are available to them. Mm-hmm. I actually think I'm going to bring those to the dinner tomorrow night and ask everybody. Yeah. As a family dialogue. It'd be fascinating to see.
And just notice there's no, you don't have to do anything or, don't feel like you have to do anything, but just be reflective.
And they don't even have to answer if you're not ready to answer, but just open the space for that contemplation of the question to be there. I'm getting so much better at not having to know. I mean, just yesterday. I know. Just yesterday, I figured out where I'm going to be for the rest of my next 3 weeks here. Cool. And I was like, oh, that was a relief. But, I was so trusting. Normally, people don't go on a 6-week journey if they don't know exactly where they're going to be, which day. And I'm like, I'm trusting. So,
and it's so beautiful. That's where the detachment is. And it's better than you ever anticipated. So we can keep celebrating our help from our divine ones along the way that just kind of give you the little.
Yes. And I listened to that contemplation from the Star Pearl contemplations this morning that was on the connectivity between creativity and culture. and how it is about the link. It's the pathway of support, and how we are just so, we just need to sometimes just go, okay, I am, my humanness is really struggling here. I'm open to however this
Yeah.
shows up, and the right human or non-human support always comes through.
Always. Always.
So don't be afraid to ask. So
Yeah.
on that note, yeah, we don't know when we'll come back together. We're allowing that to be serendipitous, and maybe when I have Wi-Fi and not doing all this on mobile data. But then again,
Who knows?
who knows? Um, I love you. Thank you for
I
your
love you.
time with me today. And thank you to everyone who does listen. And it has just been such a pleasure to be witnessed in these conversations that Suzanne and I enjoy, obviously. So on that note, take care.
Until next time. Toodles.